Now that he's a Netflix producer, along with his 8-adult wife, Michelle, he's producing more racial division. The latest is called Leave the World Behind. It's a fictional thriller about the collapse of technology and what humans would do with no phones or computers. The movie follows a family on vacation at a rental house, and one night they're visited by a father and a daughter who show up seeking shelter. They say their phones no longer work and they need a place to stay. So immediately the white family, because they're evil, that's included in their DNA of course, is suspicious of the visitors because they're black. And it goes on and on and on like this. Here's a clip.
I'm asking for you to remember that if the world falls apart, trust should not be doled out easily to anyone, especially white people.
Can't trust white people. They're evil. This is the guy, remember, who became famous at the Democratic Convention in 2004 by telling us there is no white America, there's no black America, it's just one America. But of course, that's not really a profit model in politics, is it? So he's been stoking race hatred ever since, and the disarray around us is...
This target, as you will see in this little trailer for tomorrow's bigger piece, is Michelle Obama. Watch.
A former first lady with her own podcast.
I'm Michelle Obama. People line up for my advice.
No, not her. This former first lady.
I'm Megyn O. People need to hear from me. Many people don't understand. Not much is covered in the White House.
It's expensive to live in the White House. We made it through.
We got out alive.
But what happened to me?
What happened to me? No one talks about it. No.
When Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson turn their spotlight on Barack Obama, it's not just political commentary, it's a full-throttle reckoning. No filters, no fluff, just two media titans dismantling the myth with sniper-like precision. Forget the polished soundbites and rehearsed charisma. They slice through the presidential veneer to reveal the stagecraft beneath. This isn't your standard critique, it's a sharp, comedic, and unflinching takedown that dares to challenge the carefully curated legacy. Think you know the man behind the teleprompter? Think again. With surgical wit and unapologetic candor, Kelly and Carlson bring the fire. And Obama? He never even saw the ambush coming.
Things that I just miss, right? So I don't even know this stuff's going on.
Right.
And then somebody will mention it to me, and I'm all like, what are you talking about?
People think that they're on the outs because they're not always in the same room together.
One of the most interesting moments in the 2008 campaign occurred when a man, like Obama himself, came from out of nowhere to recount his experiences with Barack Obama, the man. His name was Larry Sinclair, and he told an amazing story. He said that in 1999, he had encountered Barack Obama in Illinois, Barack Obama, and then used.
There's something almost endearing about how Barack Obama still carries himself like the world is breathlessly waiting for his next TED Talk, probably titled, How to Ruin a Nation with Swagger. Somehow, he sold an entire generation on the idea that charisma could stand in for competence, and that a well-timed pause made every sentence sound like gospel. Spoiler, it didn't. It just gave everyone a moment to brace for the stylish disaster that was about to follow. The theatrics were polished, sure, but beneath the surface? A masterclass in dressing up failure as inspiration.
First piece, here's the cliff notes. Obama colludes with Nancy Pelosi and Hakeem Jeffries and Schumer. Sunday morning calls Biden and says, you're done. Kamala's gonna 25th Amendment you, and you gotta step aside.
And who places the call?
Obama.
Obama does.
So Obama calls the sitting president and tells him, you're done.
Megyn Kelly can barely contain her amusement as she watches Obama's speeches roll by like a nostalgic sitcom rerun no one subscribed to. She can't help but wonder, is this political theater or stand-up comedy in disguise? There's a certain brilliance, she notes, in how he managed to make being detached feel like civic duty. Remember the days of hope and change? Well, we definitely got change, just not the kind you keep. More like the loose coins you fish out from between couch cushions after realizing the real currency, your paycheck, your options, your trust, was quietly drained by policies labeled affordable, yet priced just out of reach.
When he does, I was like, wait a minute. What's going on here? And he's like, I'm teasing you, right? I was like, none of that.
Because he likes to tease.
Oh my God, yeah. But when me, Malia, and Sasha all of us are together, he doesn't stand a chance. We mercilessly go after him.
I believe that. I have no doubt you do, because you do it publicly whenever you can. You. When was the last time you said anything kind about him? I mean, like, it's a 99-to-1 ratio in your public comments. So that's their rule. She and her daughters can tease him mercilessly, and he is not allowed to say anything.
Tucker Carlson, meanwhile, looks like he's thoroughly enjoying himself. To him, Obama's presidency played out like a TEDx talk gone wildly off script, where the keynote speaker somehow ends up with the nuclear codes and a global stage. With each overseas tour, Obama seemed less like a president and more like an apologetic brand ambassador for a country he didn't quite want to defend. Tucker sees the legacy not as leadership, but as a glossy scrapbook filled with poetic sound bites, stagnant economics, chaotic foreign entanglements, and yes, the occasional drone strike curiously wrapped in the glow of a Nobel Peace Prize.
Did you see the video of Biden at the debate in 2007 announcing that Barack Obama had an AIDS test?
I know Barack got tested for AIDS.
Oh, it's the funniest video ever. Biden said, well, I think, AIDS is a real problem in the African-American community.
And the community's engaged in denial.
And I think we should all get AIDS tests. I mean, Barack Obama had an AIDS test.
I know Barack got tested for AIDS.
There's a cutaway of Obama being like, I hate you.
It's an important thing.
Then Biden's like, which is totally good. And I think he's negative, but I mean, all men should get an AIDS.
There's no shame in being tested for AIDS.
Obama is so
Obama is fuming, and Megyn Kelly isn't letting it slide. She highlights the irony of a man preaching unity from a pedestal built on passive-aggressive elitism. Every time he strides on stage, she quips, he carries the air of someone fresh off a semester abroad in smug superiority. He speaks of bipartisanship, but let's be honest, his idea of compromise often sounds like a polite demand that everyone else just fall in line. His words drip with sermon-like gravitas, but the pews are empty, the doors locked, and the congregation long gone. What once felt like inspiration now plays like echoes in a cathedral no one visits anymore.
On the record, they can pretend all they want that it's just tabloid fodder that has led people to think they're on the outs. That oh yes, he appeared without her, here or there, and people, no. Okay, first of all, she didn't go to the Trump inauguration. She didn't go to the Jimmy Carter funeral. He's been spotted out at basketball games and out to dinner with their daughters repeatedly without her. You'd be hard-pressed to find a recent picture of the two of them together.
Tucker Carlson can't help but shake his head and laugh at the notion that Barack Obama was ever considered a transformative leader. Transformative? How exactly? He turned Middle East policy into a running joke, where red lines blurred into punchlines. Healthcare? He didn't fix it, he reinvented it as a bureaucratic Rubik's Cube no one could solve without a hotline and a prayer. And race relations? They got a cinematic reboot that somehow felt more scripted and less sincere than the original, complete with worse reviews. The only things that noticeably changed were the ballooning size of government and the growing number of people pretending they suddenly understood what quantitative easing meant after hearing it in a speech. And now, we get Netflix specials where Obama interviews himself and still manages to interrupt. Tucker finds it hilarious how Obama weaponized calm, using serenity like a political force field. In moments that demanded clarity, he delivered cloudy metaphors. When the nation called for action, he responded with flowery prose. Tucker swears there was a moment during a financial meltdown when Obama likened the crisis to a jazz solo improvised, directionless, and full of smooth nothing. No rhythm, no plan, just vibes and a podium.
This 16-page document, and they say, Mr. President-elect, wait till you see the cool things we're doing all around the world. And they've sucked him in. They made him one of the guys. And then we get the feedback at the CIA. Oh, the president loved this. The president had a follow-up question on that. Oh, the president said, oh my God, when he read this.
Well, it almost sounds like you're psychologically profiling the president.
Oh, I think that's exactly what they do.
And so they use the tools that they have employed for decades to subvert foreign governments to subvert their own.
Megyn Kelly can't help but smirk when she recalls Obama's grand promises of transparency delivered with the flair of a magician who conveniently forgot to show the final reveal. Everything felt wrapped in layers of $10 words, dipped in academic varnish, and served with a smug side of Fox intellectualism. To her, he treated the Constitution like a choose-your-own-adventure novel, except every path led to expanded bureaucracy and a growing list of federal watch lists. And then, there was the infamous tan suit. Tucker still chuckles over that one. The media went into full meltdown mode not because it was offensive, but because, in a summer bursting with actual scandals, that bland fashion statement was the most thrilling thing to hit the headlines. It was peak Obama, drama dressed in dullness. His press conferences sounded like NPR lullabies, with just enough cadence to keep you nodding mostly off to sleep. Megyn's seen more straightforward messaging hanging on the walls of abstract art galleries. And every time he slipped or fumbled, the press rushed in with Olympic-level spin, calling it subtle leadership. Apparently, leading from behind was just the polite way to describe hitting the snooze button during a crisis.
Speaking of Barack Obama, he decided to drop a post on X today, and I thought, okay, maybe in the wake of the Pete Hegseth presser, he's going to say something like, no matter how you feel about the Iranian strike, hats off to our, boys in blue, our guys in the bombers. He went a different way. This is what it was.
Curious how you're thinking about this eulogy specifically in the moment and all the tensions that you just brought out.
I didn't even want to talk. I was so mad. Part of the reason I think I ended up having anything to say at that moment was when I heard some of the victims' families forgive, and I thought, all right, let's see if maybe this is a way America can hear me.
Tucker jokes that Obama's version of strength looked a lot like hosting a summit on masculinity while America quietly handed over its backbone to international think tanks and bureaucratic roundtables. He recalls the irony of a president who warned the nation about misinformation, only to sprinkle his own speeches with enough polished ideology to make people wonder if their minds were stuck buffering mid-sentence. Megyn, meanwhile, still marvels at the sleight of hand that was Obamacare. He somehow made healthcare more expensive, skyrocketing premiums, bloated deductibles, shrinking networks, and yet convinced millions it was a bargain. That's not policy, that's stagecraft. Slap a friendly label on a financial migraine. Deliver it with that signature baritone, and suddenly people start applauding like they just watched a magic trick. When it came to foreign policy, it boiled down to a 3-word mantra: apologize, retreat, repeat, and then came the media tour. Megyn's favorite chapter? The late-night comedy circuit. At some point, the leader of the free world became a recurring guest star on more talk shows than actual sitcom actors. Legislation took a back seat to punchlines. Crisis response was replaced with charisma. The Oval Office didn't feel like The West Wing anymore. It felt like backstage at Saturday Night Live, just without the laughs.
But I'd never read that Donald Young, this man Donald Young, called you and told you that he knew you'd had sex with Barack Obama.
That was the contact in late 2007 that I had that originally came under the guise that they were part of the Obama campaign.
Tucker grins, shaking his head as he recalls every time Obama tried to sound relatable. It was like watching a tenured professor suddenly break into a rap verse to impress a bored freshman class. The slang felt borrowed, like he'd picked it up from a BuzzFeed quiz titled, "Which millennial phrase are you?" There was always this distant air about him, as if he were broadcasting from a polished tower 5 stories above real life, where ordinary people. Megyn can't resist poking at the mythology that surrounded him. Obama was treated like he could walk on water, cure chronic illness with a whisper, and make the oceans pause with a single wink. He didn't just have good PR, he had Avengers-level branding. When the economy nosedived, it was the previous administration's mess. When the Middle East lit up, it was a complicated inheritance. And when national morale dipped, clearly, the public just wasn't sophisticated enough to grasp his genius. He never took the hit. Instead, he narrated failure like Morgan Freeman reading excuses off a teleprompter so smooth, you almost missed the fact that nothing got fixed.
Then tells Kamala Harris, you're going to be the nominee, but if you don't gain traction, if you're not popular, we're going to take you out too. I mean, it's all shocking. It sounds true.
If, in fact, the 25th Amendment is worthy of being invoked.
Yes.
If his condition is such that it needs to be invoked and then they don't invoke it, then they're leaving the country in a precarious position of being led by a man not in possession of his faculties. If, on the other hand, it's...
Megyn chuckles as she recalls how Obama's speeches often felt less like presidential addresses and more like TED Talks hosted by someone who's never clocked into a 9-to-5. To her, he perfected one thing above all, the graceful dodge. If accountability were a sport, he'd have won gold while sipping a latte mid-hurricane, somehow persuading the media that the storm itself was just a poetic metaphor for resistance to progress. Tucker jumps in with a knowing grin, pointing out that the Obama era didn't just change politics, it launched an entire cottage industry of professional interpreters whose sole mission was decoding his elegant vagueness into something that vaguely resembled leadership. Every abstract phrase spawned a panel discussion. Every lofty metaphor birthed a best-selling book deal. And then came the post-presidency glow-up. Obama didn't retire, he rebranded. One moment he was commander-in-chief. The next he was a full-fledged lifestyle guru with a podcast, a production company, and a calendar of curated beach photos. He didn't just leave the White House, he joined the Influencer Olympics. His Instagram presence radiates the energy of someone who discovered filters late in life.
When me, Malia, and Sasha all of us are together, he doesn't stand a chance. We mercilessly go after him.
I believe that. I have no doubt you do, because you do it publicly whenever you can. When was the last time you said anything kind about him? I mean, like, it's a 99-to-1 ratio in your public comments. So that's their rule. She and her daughters can tease him mercilessly, and he is not allowed to say anything about becoming over there.
Megyn wraps it with a sly smirk, suggesting that if Obama truly wanted to do the country a favor, he might try something radical like not speaking for 5 whole minutes. Just 5 minutes of silence to let America breathe, to detox from the ever-present aroma of well-packaged mediocrity delivered with the confidence of a Nobel laureate turned motivational speaker. Maybe, she jokes, give us a brief intermission from the symphony of self-congratulation echoing through high-end sound systems at leadership forums where attendees think driving a Prius qualifies as a personality. Tucker's still laughing, unable to resist the spectacle, while Obama loyalists are busy crafting #lace tributes and photoshopping his face onto Mount Rushmore. The rest of the country is left scratching its head. What exactly was transformed, besides the political art of dressing up failure in poetic ambiguity and masking inaction with cinematic flair? But it's not over. Because every time a microphone is turned on, whether in a marble auditorium or on a warmly lit fireside Zoom, there he is, reminding the world just how incredible he thinks he was. And honestly, the more he talks, the easier the satire writes itself. Megyn's already flipping through her notes, pen in hand, ready for round 2.
I know. How do you not stop, especially when your husband was commander-in-chief for 8 years, and think there will be people who hear this clip who have no arms and legs thanks to these wars that we fought in Iraq and Afghanistan. I mean, I know some of them, and they will drag themselves out to run the Tunnel to Towers race and other races to raise money for other suffering veterans and firefighters who got hurt on 9/11 and so on, and their families are surviving, who have actual problems that were basically brought on them by the...
Tucker's sharpening the knives. Another roast is on the grill, and it's sizzling. Megyn leans in, one eyebrow arched, already anticipating the next televised wisdom drop from Obama, because nothing says national healing quite like a multimillionaire with oceanfront property lecturing working-class Americans about the perils of climate change. She can't help but wonder, does he film those solemn monologues before or after hopping a private jet to his next book signing retreat in Martha's Vineyard? The irony, she notes, is thick enough to block out the very sun he claims he's saving us from. Tucker practically lights up as he recalls Obama suggesting coal miners just learn to code, as if the leap from the mines to Silicon Valley was just one TED Talk away. Meanwhile, the cost of eggs has tripled and the media calls it economic resilience. Tucker chuckles. Obama could sink a battleship with a well-placed metaphor and still exit stage left to a standing ovation. It's not that he was misunderstood, it's that understanding him too clearly meant seeing past the charm, straight into the chaos. And the deeper you dig, the more obvious it becomes. Obama was never the wizard, just the man behind the curtain, yanking the levers and hoping no one saw. The sparks flying.